Hey, do you guys lead by faith or by fear? This is a question I've actually asked myself quite a few times. Hey, my name is Aroca, and that's what I want to talk to you guys today about leading with faith instead of fear. Back in the mid-90s, I had a business trip. I was headed to Miami. Love Miami. I love the food, love the culture, love the weather, the beaches. Oh, it was awesome. I stayed at a Marriott in Boca Raton, and it was amazing. Loved that trip so much. On the way there, I just happened to be sitting on a window seat. Back then, I was younger, had a healthier bladder. I could withstand the trek across country without having to go to the bathroom. Now that I'm in my 50s, not so much. Now I always get the aisle seat. But I'm sitting in the window seat. The middle seat is empty, and then the aisle seat is taken up by a lady probably in her mid to late 40s. Found out her name was Margaret, and she was a executive for an organization in Miami. And she was headed back home. She had been in Salt Lake City for a bunch of meetings. She was on her way home. Most of the flight, I'll be honest, we did not talk to each other at all. I don't think we even made eye contact. And it was just kind of the same old, right? I'm reading my book. She's doing whatever she's doing. I'm looking out the window, that kind of a thing. And then about halfway through the flight, I don't remember if I started a conversation or if she started the conversation. And I'm just going to say she started the conversation because that's probably not like me to start a conversation. So she started up a conversation. We got to talking, and it made the rest of the flight just fly right by. Pun intended, get that? So we talked all about our careers. We talked a little bit about our families, and we had a really wonderful conversation on the way to Miami. We were, like I said, just talking away when the captain came over the intercom and said, "Hey, ladies and gentlemen, we're making final preparations for landing. Put your, what do they say? Put your tray up, stow all your stuff, whatever, right? Listen to the instructions from the flight attendants that they give you for arrival." So we did all that good stuff. We got all ready. Within a few minutes, the captain came back on the intercom and said, "Hey, we want to let you know that we are experiencing some mechanical problems." And as soon as he said mechanical problems, everyone, like the chatter on the plane, just kind of picked up like, what? Like, what happened? What did he say? Right? And everybody heard him correctly. Mechanical problems. You really can't, that doesn't, sound like anything else. So he proceeded to tell us that they had lost hydraulics, and that meant that they could not get the landing gear down. So that's pretty frightening. I don't know if you've ever had that happen, but trust me, it is a frightening experience. So the chatter not only went up a little bit, but now when he's telling us that we have no landing gear, the chatter on the plane has reached a new level. It is way up here. He said that he was in communication with the tower, and they were doing whatever they got to do, right? They were getting additional information or working the issue, what have you. So now everyone is talking pretty loudly on the plane, and he came back on the intercom a few moments later, and he said, "Okay, this is what we're going to do. We are going to prepare for an emergency landing. But before we do that, we are going to go out into the Atlantic, and we are going to go out there and just circle around, and dump fuel." You heard me correctly. Circle around and dump fuel. I thought to myself, well, wouldn't it be a better idea if we kept all the fuel while we try to work the problem? I'm just not a fan of dumping fuel. So, but now I kind of get the logic of it, right? Like if the only thing we can do is going for an emergency landing, then you don't want to have a plane full of fuel, right? Or however much fuel you have left. So we got all set. Now, I noticed two things from this experience. As I looked around the plane, I noticed that there were two different types of people on the plane. The first type were kind of like very calm, like they had their stuff together, right? The second people on the plane were just chaotic. They were in despair. They had lost all control. And in the past, before this actually happened to me, I had wondered what type of a leader would I be, or what type of a person would I be in a situation like that, in an emergency type of situation. I always wondered, where would I be? Like, would I be calm, or would I be totally losing it? As I noticed that, I realized, oh my gosh, I'm with the calm people. I was totally calm. Like, not to say that I wasn't afraid even, or that I wasn't concerned, but I was calm. Margaret, on the other hand, had completely lost all control. She was starting to hyperventilate. I had to get the little Delta barf bag and hand it to her, and kind of held it up for her and telling her to breathe into the bag so she didn't hyperventilate. She was crying, makeup, mascara all over her face. She was a mess. So I reached over and I said, Margaret, everything is going to be okay. And she would say things like, you have no idea. You don't know that. You can't tell me that. And I said, Margaret, everything's going to be okay. I promise you that everything's going to be okay. Just relax. So during this period of total chaos on the plane, the flight attendants are doing their best to try to calm people down and get everybody situated. As well as all the calm people on the plane. They're all doing the same thing. The captain comes back on the intercom, and he tells us that if we want to make a phone call to our families, to do so, because on the next go around, we're going to circle one more time, and then we're going to come in for our final landing, our emergency landing. And it's basically a belly landing because they don't have landing gear. We had gotten all the instructions on how to sit, tuck, all that kind of stuff. So I think we were all pretty much ready to roll. On the plane, they had the V phone. I don't know if you guys remember the V phones that were on the headrest. So Margaret is sliding her credit card, trying to get it to work. It wouldn't work. So I had a BlackBerry, like the mini BlackBerry. So I handed her my BlackBerry and I said, Margaret, please use my phone to call home, call your husband. And she's like, no, I can't take that away from you. You need to call your wife. And I'm like, Margaret, I'm not calling my wife. Everything's going to be okay. I said, you need to call your husband right now. Make the phone call. Trust me, everything is okay. Just make the phone call. So she hesitated, and finally she accepted, and she makes the phone call. I think talking to her husband, or just maybe hearing his voice, calmed her down, or the fact that she told him that she loved him a million times, maybe that's what calmed her down. I don't know what did it for her, but it kind of helped calm her a little bit. She handed me the phone back and said, okay, now I want you to call your family. And I said, Margaret, I'm not calling home. I'm not calling home. I'm not making that phone call. So, and maybe that was selfish on my part. I don't know. But I really felt like everything was going to be okay. So we get all situated. We're in our tuck position or whatever, the instructions. We followed them. I'm holding her hand. Well, I'm not really holding her hand. She's more like crushing my hand. And maybe that's why I have arthritis today. Never thought of that. Maybe that's it. She's crushing my hand. And the whole time I'm just telling her, and she's praying in whatever religion she has to her God. And you could hear that throughout the entire plane. Everyone's saying prayers or whatever. And so we're in our tuck position. We're coming in for the final approach. And the captain comes on and he says, ladies and gentlemen, we got our landing gear down. Stay in your positions. We got our landing gear down. And there was a magical sound when you hear those wheels come and just squeak the runway. That, I don't know how to do it, but that squeakiness that you get when the wheels of an airplane touch pavement, that was a magical, magical sound That's what let everyone on the plane know that the landing gear truly had been lowered and that we were all going to be okay. Now, I got to look at Margaret and say, hey, I told you everything was going to be okay. She like bear hugged me, kissed me on the cheek. And she's like, I'm so glad that everything, that we all made it, that everything is fine. And she says, I want you to call your wife right now. And I'm like, yeah, I'll call her later. Like, I'll call her tonight and let her know what happened and stuff. But that's not really the point. The point is, do you lead by faith or do you lead by fear? It's not that I wasn't afraid. It's that I didn't allow fear to take over that situation. You see, I fully believe that if the plane would have crashed and I would have been horribly deformed. I mean, look at this. This is after a good landing. Can you imagine what it would have looked like, So, but if I would have been deformed or injured in some way, or even worst case scenario, if I would have died that day, everything would have been fine. Everything would have been okay. As you guys go about your day in these crazy times that we're living in today, with the pandemic and all the fear that surrounds us about this pandemic, I want you to think about leading with faith instead. And to me, that's stay in control of the things that you can control. Be a good person. Serve others. Do your job. Do the best you can on a daily basis to live a great life and to bless the lives of other people. Because when you let fear creep in, then we start leading by fear, by intimidation, by our title and position all of a sudden becomes important. When we lead by faith, it's all about service. And that's why we call it servant leadership. It's because it's not that we're not important as individuals. It's just that we put people's needs ahead of our own. So serve other people. Go out of your way to serve others. Leading by faith is so much better than leading by fear. This was a wonderful experience that I had early on in my career that really captivated my thoughs about leadership, about faith-based leadership and what that looks like. It is everything. It is exactly opposite of fear-based leadership. It's inspiration. It's service. It's all those great things that help you to become better, but also bless the lives of other people. So as you go on and live your day-to-day throughout this pandemic or whatever other obstacles you may be faced with today, think about faith-based leadership and how that can bless you and the people around you. All right, guys, that's all we have time for today. So if you like this video, give me one of these. Share, comment, like, do all that good stuff. And I appreciate you listening. And I will see you guys next time. Take care.